She doesn't start with an apology. She starts with a sentence designed to confuse you. When a woman cheats, the first thing she says isn't always a confession, it's a cover. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that's uncomfortable, emotional, and often misunderstood. What a woman says first when she's cheating. Cheating doesn't always begin with a dramatic confession. Often, it starts with a shift in language, subtle, calculated, and sometimes manipulative. Understanding these first words can give you insight into what's really going on beneath the surface. So, let's break it down. 1. Why are you being so insecure? This phrase is often the first line of defense when a woman is cheating. It's not necessarily a statement of concern for your emotional well-being. Instead, it's a redirection. The goal here is to put you on the defensive, to make you question your instincts rather than her behavior. When a woman is cheating, she becomes acutely aware of your rising suspicion. Rather than admitting guilt or engaging in a transparent conversation, she may accuse you of being insecure to throw you off balance. It's a psychological strategy. If she can make you believe that your concerns are rooted in personal insecurity, then she doesn't have to address the behavior that's causing them. This tactic often works because nobody wants to seem like the jealous or controlling partner. So, when you begin to feel distant from her or notice inconsistencies in her stories and ask about them, she hits back with this line. The intention isn't to solve the issue, but to derail the conversation entirely. It becomes even more suspicious when this accusation of insecurity comes out of nowhere, or in response to something small. For example, if you ask about her being out late, or texting someone frequently, and she immediately jumps to labeling you as insecure, it's likely not just about that one instance. She's trying to invalidate your concern before it grows into something she can't control. Healthy relationships thrive on trust and communication. If you bring up something that's genuinely bothering you, and her first instinct is to make it about your insecurities rather than explore the issue together, it could be a red flag. A partner who values you will want to reassure you, not belittle or dismiss you. If her first move is to deflect and diminish your feelings, it's worth taking a closer look at what she might be hiding behind those words. 2. You're acting crazy. This statement is a classic form of gaslighting. It's designed to undermine your sense of reality. If you've ever confronted your partner with valid concerns and been met with this response, it's not just frustrating, it's deeply manipulative. The phrase, "you're acting crazy," is not meant to clarify or comfort. It's meant to discredit your perception and shut down the conversation. When a woman cheats, she may feel threatened by any line of questioning. Your attention to small details, your curiosity about her behavior, your questions about her whereabouts, all of these can expose her. So rather than face the issue head-on, she attacks your mental state. By labeling your behavior as crazy, she attempts to paint herself as the reasonable one, and you as irrational. What makes this tactic particularly dangerous is how subtle it can be. She might say it jokingly, with a laugh, as if to diffuse the tension. But make no mistake, this kind of comment is not innocent. It's part of a larger effort to make you second-guess your own observations. This line can also lead to a cycle where you're constantly apologizing for your concerns, while she offers no explanation for her suspicious behavior. You might even start to wonder if you're overthinking things, when in reality, your instincts are spot on. Ultimately, in a healthy relationship, both people should feel safe expressing their concerns. If her default reaction is to mock, dismiss, or gaslight you, it signals a lack of respect and transparency. And if it happens at the exact moment you start getting close to the truth, it's time to start asking even more questions. 3. I need space. When a woman utters the words, "I need space," it can hit like a thunderclap, especially if things seem to be going fine. While this phrase can sometimes be sincere and healthy in certain contexts, when it comes out of nowhere and is paired with behavioral changes, it's often a subtle warning sign that something deeper is going on. I need space is often used as a buffer, an emotional cushion to create physical and mental distance. In the context of infidelity, It may signal that she's not just stepping back from the relationship, but stepping into something else, possibly with someone else. It's a way to ease guilt while laying the groundwork to detach emotionally. What makes this particularly tricky is how believable it sounds. Life gets overwhelming. People need time to think. She might say, "I just need to clear my head," or "I feel suffocated." On the surface, it seems reasonable, even responsible. But if this phrase comes after a period of closeness and connection, without any major argument or stressor triggering it, you have to ask yourself, what's really changed? What's important here is to observe the timing and the context. Has she recently been distant, distracted, or emotionally unavailable? Has her schedule suddenly shifted? Is she going out more, being secretive about her phone, or suddenly protective of her privacy? Does she get defensive when you ask simple questions? When a woman wants space in the middle of what seemed to be emotional stability, it might not be about space, it might be about someone else occupying that space. This creates an emotional gap between you and her, giving her the room she needs to explore another connection while you're left in limbo, unsure and confused. She may also use this line as a way to ease into a breakup, making it feel more gradual and less harsh. But sometimes, "I need space" isn't a breakup, it's a cover. A temporary pause for one relationship while the other is heating up behind the scenes. The critical thing is how she behaves during this so-called space. Is she introspective and communicative? Or is she more distant than ever, unavailable, unresponsive, and conveniently vague about what she's doing and who she's with? Trust your intuition. Pay attention not just to what's said, but to what's left unsaid. 4. You deserve better than me. This one is a deeply manipulative statement, wrapped in guilt and disguised as humility. You deserve better than me. At first glance, it might sound sweet, like she's showing emotional vulnerability, like she cares enough to want the best for you. But peel back the layers, and you'll often find that this is a veiled confession. When a woman is cheating, she may feel consumed by guilt. She knows she's doing something wrong, but isn't ready to face it. So instead, she projects that guilt outward, onto you, by suggesting you're too good for her. It's not her admitting to cheating directly, but it's a breadcrumb, a subtle hint, a passive way of saying, "I'm not being the partner you think I am." She might say this during a calm moment or even when you're making plans for the future. You could be talking about taking a trip together or moving in, and out of nowhere she says, "I don't know if I'm good enough for you." That statement doesn't come from nowhere, it comes from internal conflict. Women who use this line are trying to preemptively soften the blow of their own betrayal. By painting themselves as the problem, they avoid having to explain the real issue. It also puts the ball in your court, making you feel responsible for a decision they've already emotionally made. What's more dangerous is how it plays on your emotions. You might feel compelled to reassure her, to convince her that she is enough. You may not even suspect infidelity, because on the surface, it looks like low self-esteem, not disloyalty. But don't be fooled. Ask yourself why she's suddenly feeling this way. Was there a specific trigger, or does it seem out of the blue? If she can't pinpoint a reason or avoids discussing it deeply, it's likely because she doesn't want to admit what's really behind her words. Her saying, "You deserve better than me," might be her way of coping with the fact that she's already betrayed your trust and doesn't know how to own up to it. 5. Why don't you trust me? This is one of the most classic deflection tactics when a woman is hiding something, flipping the script. You ask a reasonable question about something that seems off. Maybe she's been coming home late, guarding her phone, or acting emotionally distant. Instead of addressing your concern, she hits you with, "Why don't you trust me?" It's a powerful emotional reversal. Suddenly, you're not the one with a legitimate concern. Now you're the villain, the insecure partner, the one ruining the relationship with your doubts. But here's the thing, trust is a two-way street, and when someone weaponizes it against you instead of earning it, that's a red flag. This phrase is designed to make you feel guilty, to second-guess your instincts. It paints her as the victim of your so-called mistrust, even if your suspicion is based on clear patterns of change. Maybe she's deleted messages, changed her routines, or gotten defensive out of nowhere. Yet the minute you bring it up, you're the problem. In many cases, this line is accompanied by tears, frustration, or accusations. "I can't deal with this constant suspicion," she might say. "You're always looking for something that isn't there." But notice, none of those statements actually answer your question. When a woman cheats, her biggest fear is exposure. One of the easiest ways to avoid being caught is to shut down the conversation by putting you on the defensive. "Why don't you trust me?" isn't a question, it's a tactic. It changes the narrative. Instead of her having to explain her shady behavior, you're left trying to explain your concern, justifying your feelings, apologizing for asking too much. Over time, this dynamic can wear you down emotionally, making you less likely to question her in the future. Here's what you need to remember. Real trust is built through consistent honesty and transparency. If her actions don't align with her words, you have every right to ask questions. And if the only answer you ever get is, "Why don't you trust me?" you might already have your answer. 6. You're always busy. You're always busy. It seems like a complaint, right? A frustrated sigh from someone feeling neglected. But when a woman is cheating, this phrase can carry much more weight than it seems. It becomes a rationalization, a subtle way to shift the blame onto you. This statement is often used to justify her growing distance or infidelity. It frames her betrayal not as a choice she made, but as something she was pushed into because you were emotionally unavailable. Instead of owning her actions, she implies that your dedication to work, your responsibilities, or your personal ambitions somehow gave her permission to seek comfort elsewhere. At first, this can feel like a legitimate concern. Maybe you have been busy lately, grinding at your job, taking care of responsibilities, or just juggling life. So when she says this, it might hit a nerve. You feel guilty. You want to do better. But here's what makes it dangerous. It reframes the conversation away from her behavior and puts the spotlight back on your shortcomings, real or exaggerated. If you notice she's been distant, withdrawn, or cold, and when you ask her about it, the response is, "Well, you're always busy," that's a dodge. It doesn't address what's really going on, it's a shield. And that shield is often protecting something she doesn't want to confess. Watch for when this line comes up. Does she say it after you question where she's been? After a late night out with no clear explanation? Does she say it while hiding behind vague statements like, "I just needed to feel something again"? These are signs that she's trying to create a justification, not a resolution. Also, look at the pattern. Was your schedule really a problem before? Did she ever express this concern earlier in the relationship? Or is this suddenly the main issue only now, when her behavior has changed and her emotional availability has disappeared? If she cared about reconnecting, she'd express that desire with vulnerability. She'd say something like, "I miss you," or "Can we find time for just us again?" But when she says, "You're always busy," as a reason for her emotional or physical detachment, she's not asking for change. She's covering up her own. Bottom line, if your supposed busyness is being used as a defense for her secret life, it's not about time, it's about truth. 7. It's not what it looks like. Few phrases scream panic and guilt louder than this one. It's not what it looks like. This line is the verbal equivalent of trying to slam a door shut after you've already been caught with it wide open. And in many cases, it's a last-ditch effort to control the damage. When a woman says this, it usually follows a moment of confrontation. Maybe you walked in on her laughing a little too intimately with another guy. Maybe you found messages that didn't sit right. Maybe she came home late smelling like a night you weren't part of. And when you question her, boom, out comes this line. It's not what it looks like. This phrase is powerful because it plays on your doubt. It suggests you misunderstood. You saw it wrong. It tries to push your brain into second-guessing your own eyes and ears. And here's the real kicker. It offers no actual explanation. Let's break that down. If it's not what it looks like, then what is it? A serious partner who has nothing to hide will clarify immediately. That guy is my co-worker. He's going through a divorce. We were just talking. Or, that message is from my cousin. We were joking. But when she just says the phrase and leaves the explanation vague or delayed, it's a stall tactic, She's trying to create time. Time to make up a better story. Time to change the narrative. Time to throw enough emotional smoke into the room that you stop seeing clearly. And more often than not, when someone says this, deep down, they know it's exactly what it looks like. Your instincts aren't wrong. They're reacting to something real. You're picking up on energy that doesn't match the words. This phrase is also often followed by guilt tripping or emotional manipulation. She might cry, get angry, turn it into a fight, all of it to avoid the conversation that actually needs to happen. Why were you doing that? So don't be distracted. Don't let those 5 words derail your clarity. If you saw something that made you pause, that made your stomach drop, that felt wrong, it probably is. It's not what it looks like, is the phrase people use when the truth is too uncomfortable to admit. 8. You're imagining things. This one hits hard. You're imagining things. It sounds like concern, but it's actually a psychological weapon, gaslighting in its most polished form. It's a way to make you question not just your suspicions, but your very sanity. When a woman is cheating and wants to avoid detection, the easiest way to protect herself isn't to change her behavior, it's to change your perception of that behavior. If you notice something is off, her energy, her routine, her reactions, and you voice your concerns, this phrase is her shield. You're imagining things is a line meant to disarm you, to make you feel like you're the crazy one, that maybe your gut is broken, maybe you're just insecure, maybe you are seeing things that aren't there. That's the trap. The truth is, your instincts exist for a reason. Human beings are deeply intuitive creatures. We notice shifts in tone, timing, body language. We sense when something's changed. So when you bring up a concern, why are you suddenly so cold? Or, who keeps calling you late at night? And she quickly shuts it down with, you're imagining things, she's not giving you peace, she's giving you confusion. This confusion makes you easier to manage. If she can plant enough doubt in your mind, she doesn't have to hide as well. She can cheat in plain sight because you'll start second-guessing every thought you have. You might even start apologizing. Maybe I am just being dramatic. I don't want to be that jealous guy. But here's the deal. If your questions are being met with dismissal instead of reassurance, that's not love. It's control. A loving partner listens. Even if there's nothing going on, she wants to ease your mind, not mess with it. She doesn't want you to walk around feeling insane. So when this phrase comes up, pause and look at the bigger picture. Are you imagining things, or is she just trying to make you believe that? Because if you've been feeling distance, sensing dishonesty, and catching half-truths, and the only response you get is, you're imagining things, you already know the truth, you just haven't been given the permission to say it out loud. 9. I don't know what I want anymore. This line is the emotional foghorn before the storm. I don't know what I want anymore. On the surface, it sounds like confusion, like someone lost in their own feelings. But often, this phrase is used by a woman who's already made a choice. She just doesn't want to admit it. When a woman cheats, emotional disconnection usually begins before the physical act. She may have already started bonding with someone else, confiding in them, feeling seen in a way that makes her question everything. And instead of being honest, she hides behind ambiguity. I don't know what I want anymore is her way of testing the water, seeing how far she can distance herself without fully breaking the relationship. It creates emotional space. It gives her a way out without fully taking accountability. She might say it during an argument, or out of the blue. You might be planning something for the future, and suddenly she drops this bomb, leaving you disoriented. If she was truly confused, she'd seek clarity with you. She'd say, "Can we talk? I've been feeling disconnected and I don't know why." But when this phrase appears in isolation, without a willingness to dig deeper, it often means she's already emotionally checked out, or worse, emotionally invested elsewhere. This line can leave you stuck in limbo. You start holding on tighter, trying to win her back, trying to prove yourself. But the truth is, if someone says they don't know what they want anymore, and they're not working to find out with you, they've likely already decided. When this line shows up, it's time to step back and ask yourself a difficult but necessary question. Am I the only one still fighting for this? Because if she truly doesn't know what she wants, but continues to string you along while hiding texts, acting distant, and avoiding intimacy, then she does know. She just doesn't want to say it. Cheating isn't always announced with a dramatic confession. More often, it hides behind vague phrases, emotional detachment, and subtle deflections. When a woman cheats, the first thing she says to you isn't always the truth. It's the cover. And those covers come dressed as guilt trips, confusion, defensiveness, or even gaslighting. Now you've seen the signs, you've heard the words, and maybe, just maybe, some of them hit close to home. So what do you do with that? You don't jump to conclusions, but you do listen to your instincts. You don't become paranoid, but you do pay attention to patterns. And above all, you remember this. You are not crazy for asking questions. You are not wrong for wanting honesty. And you are not overreacting for expecting respect. If you recognize these behaviors in your relationship, it might be time for a deeper conversation, a real one. Because trust, once cracked, doesn't fix itself. It takes truth. And sometimes, the hardest truth is the one you already know, but haven't faced yet. Stay smart, stay strong, and most importantly, stay true to yourself. If this video opened your eyes or gave you clarity, hit that like button. It helps the channel grow and reach more people going through similar situations. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep, real talk on relationships, psychology, and emotional dynamics. And if you've experienced anything like this, drop a comment below. Your story might help someone else feel less alone. Thanks for watching. Be aware, be wise, and we'll see you in the next one.